In the vast frozen stretches of North America's boreal forests, where wind whispers through spruce and fir like the only living voice, one of the planet's most extraordinary engineering stories unfolds. This is not a story of machines or steel, but of wood, mud, and unbreakable determination. Here, a single animal can turn a fast stream into a living wetland. This is the chronicle of Castor canadensis, and we will follow it for what it truly is. A biological engineer capable of redrawing the map of water itself. It begins inside a structure that looks improvised until you study it closely. Within a dome of interwoven branches and hardened mud, known as a lodge, a refuge, the temperature stays surprisingly stable, even when the outside world disappears beneath nearly 3 feet of snow. A newborn beaver emerges in the dim interior, a small sphere of dense fur, barely the size of a grapefruit, yet already equipped with the tools that will define its life. Unlike many mammals born blind and helpless, beavers enter the world with eyes open, ready to move, and able to swim within hours. In its first weeks, the young beaver becomes the center of a tightly organized family unit. Beavers are among the few mammals that practice long-term monogamy, and the young beaver grows under the guidance of its parents and older siblings, the yearlings, who learn and assist before they disperse. In this protected world, it begins to recognize the true language of its environment, the sound of water, the scent of willow and aspen, and the subtle vibrations of change across the pond. This lodge is not just a pile of sticks. It is a fortress built for one purpose: survival. The entrance lies underwater, roughly 3 feet below the surface, which drastically limits access for many land predators such as wolves or lynx. Inside, a raised platform above the waterline stays dry, lined with soft wood shavings and vegetation, functioning as the family's sleeping chamber. And beneath that calm, there is one crucial truth. Water does not only protect, it also warns, because when water runs where it should be still, the entire system is in danger. As the beaver reaches 6 months, its body begins to look less like a pup and more like a complete instrument. To understand this animal, we have to understand its anatomy. An evolutionary machine tuned to work in silence between mud and ice. Its incisors are not white, but a deep orange. That color's not dirt. It is iron. The front enamel is reinforced, making the outer surface harder than the inner layer. When it gnaws, the softer back wears down faster. The result is simple and perfect. A self-sharpening edge, like a living chisel. Its flat, scaled tail is one of its most versatile tools. In water, it acts as a rudder. On land, it stabilizes the body while manipulating heavy wood. And most importantly, it becomes an alarm system. A sharp tail slap against the surface can carry for hundreds of feet. It is not aggression, it is a signal, a command that means one thing: dive, disappear, survive. Around 2 years of age, the young beaver's life shifts abruptly. In beaver society, this is the moment of dispersal. The family unit cannot sustain too many adults in the same territory, and instinct pushes the beaver to leave. This becomes the most dangerous stretch of its entire life, because now it travels over land, crossing unfamiliar creeks, and every shadow in the forest can be a predator. For weeks it moves upstream, navigating rough water, reading scents, detecting foreign scent marks, and avoiding territories already claimed. is a refuge the current cannot reach. Stones and heavy branches go first, angled so the force of the current locks them in place. Then mud and vegetation are dragged from the bottom and packed layer after layer with relentless precision. The dam does not grow through strength alone. It grows through repetition, through reading the flow, through constant correction. Slowly, the water backs up. The channel widens. What was once a fast line becomes a mirror. And the surrounding forest begins to flood as if the landscape accepts a new design. But then the inevitable happens. One night, rain lifts the level. The current strikes the weakest point, and the sound appears, the sound that defines a beaver's life, running water where it should be still. It does not think. It does not wait. It moves into the darkness, dragging mud, locking branches, sealing leaks. Because a breach is not a detail. It is the beginning of collapse. The presence of this river engineer reshapes the landscape in a way few animals can match at this scale. The pond becomes an oasis, and around that oasis, life reorganizes. Sediment is held back, flow is stabilized, and under certain conditions, water can become clearer. Migrating birds rest. Amphibians lay eggs in calm, shallow edges. Aquatic insects multiply, and more life follows. During heavy rains, a network of ponds can reduce flood peaks downstream, and during droughts, it can hold moisture longer. It does not know this, but ecology does. This is what a keystone species looks like. With territory established, it leaves scent marks of castoreum, a powerful odor produced in castor sacs near the base of the tail, saturates small mud mounds along the banks. The message is simple. This place has an owner, and that owner is ready. Before deep freezes seal the pond, a young female arrives. After a brief period of acceptance, the pair begins to work as a single unit. Because winter does not forgive mistakes, beavers do not hibernate. And when ice covers the pond with roughly 1 foot of thickness, leaving the safety of water can be deadly. So they build a life insurance policy beneath the surface. The pair gathers hundreds of willow and aspen branches, anchoring them underwater near the lodge entrance. The cold water acts like a refrigerator, and the bark stays usable until spring. Years pass, and the territory expands. What began as a dam around 10 feet long becomes a structure closer to 160 feet, reinforced again and again across seasons. The beaver is no longer the wandering juvenile. Now it is the adult that sustains the system, the one that listens, the one that repairs, the one that holds the line. And then comes the test that separates an ordinary dam from a legacy. One night, ice presses hard. Pressure opens a seam, and water begins to sing again. That sound triggers everything. It moves, works, seals, reinforces. And when morning arrives, the pond is still, the lodge is dry, the pantry is intact, the family is alive. In the late season of its life, this quiet engineer has felled thousands of trees, moved tons of mud, and created a wetland that can persist for decades after it is gone. Its descendants will disperse, carrying the same instinct to build again. This story reminds us that intelligence in nature does not always appear as language or complex technology. Sometimes it appears as persistence, as reading water, as living architecture. In every quiet pond and every flooded stand of forest, the legacy of these architects of water remains. Castor canadensis disappears into the shadows of dusk, submerging into the calm water it created, and it leaves behind something measurable, real, and difficult to match. A world more wet, more complex, and more alive.